I was falsely accused by my wife of cheating with our stepdaughter. Then she did something so crazy it could have cost me everything. I filed for divorce. I, 44M, my wife Grace, 42F. Fake names for obvious reasons. Same with throwaway account. Married for 13 years. Together for 16. Quick backstory. I met Grace about the time I got out of the military. It was a medical discharge. I met her while I was at the hospital for surgery. She was a nurse on the floor I was staying on, single mom, divorced for a couple of years. I left the military, went back to school, and now I work from home as a software engineer, more or less. We started dating and took it slow the first couple of years because of her daughter, Maya, who was 5 at the time. Grace is still a nurse and Maya goes to college. When we first got together, she told me she was low or no contact with her family. There was some obvious trauma regarding it, and as someone with PTSD, I respected that she may not be ready to share it. Plus, my family loved her, so I was happy to share. After dating for a while, right before I proposed, she told me more about her family. Grace is from a deeply fundamentalist Christian family. I know the umbrella stuff was a big deal, as well as marrying young and a lot of really difficult experiences. She got married at 16 to the son of family friends. He was 19. She was kind of lucky in a way because her ex-husband moved her across the state and away from her family, and she was able to finish school and start college. From what I can gather, he wanted out of the cult too. She had their daughter Maya when she was 21, and he was finishing up his last year of school. When he finished school, he went off to grad school in Europe, and she moved back home to her family. They got divorced soon after. After the divorce, her family tried to marry Grace off to a man that was over twice her age, which was her cue to finally get out too. From what little she would tell me, it was not an easy exit. A lot of violence was involved, and she suggested there was sexual assault and an attempted kidnapping by the older man. Eventually, though, she got out. She took her daughter, moved in with a distant aunt, and cut off most of the family. A few years later she met me, and the rest was history. I would have said, until last month, that our marriage was pretty solid. We have had arguments. I admit I was kind of bad at housekeeping when we first moved in together because I was not used to how much kids tear things up around the house. But other than that, it was good. No step-parent issues. I had an active role in Maya's life because her own father lives overseas for work. We went on dates. Intimacy has always been great. We wanted kids, but it was not in the cards for us. Honestly, I am a bit blindsided. I have had friends who were blindsided by divorce, but I never understood how. Usually there were problems that they glossed over, and then suddenly their wives would leave them and they just did not see it coming. But the rest of us could see it coming from a mile away. So here I am saying the same thing, and maybe I just missed something huge. The past few months Grace has been more stressed than usual. Ever since COVID, she has been burnt out, and I asked her multiple times if she wanted to quit her job, at least for a couple of years. I thought the burnout was coming to a head. She was withdrawn and angry. She snapped at me constantly and ridiculed Maya over everything. But she is my wife. She was traumatized by the pandemic, and both Maya and I were understanding. We would do okay with just my salary, so last month I sat her down to suggest again that she quit and take some time off to heal. Then everything blew up. She started yelling at me that she knew what I was doing. She had known for months. She had proof. I did not know what she was talking about at first, but it did not take long to realize she was accusing me of infidelity. I cannot lie, I was angry as hell. I opened my phone, handed it to her, and told her to go through it. I went and got my laptop, unlocked it, and told her to go through that too. The whole time she was still shouting at me about some other woman. I do not have traditional social media accounts. I am on Lobsters, Hacker News, and I have a Reddit account. I told her to check everything. There is no secret Facebook or Instagram or whatever. No messages from anyone. I opened Discord, even Slack. Everything I could think of. But she would not even look at it. She just got angrier and angrier, and then she picked up my laptop and threw it. That is when I had enough and left. I went to my parents' house. All the while, Grace was texting and calling and leaving more and more unhinged messages about this woman she claimed I was with. When I got to my parents' house, I called her once and told her I needed a few days because I was too angry to handle talking to her. My sister called the next morning and told me Grace had called her multiple times as well to see if I was really there. After a few days I called Grace to talk, and at first the conversation was productive. She apologized for throwing the laptop but said I had made her so angry because I was being so calm. I told her I was not calm because I was being accused of cheating on my wife and I was furious, but it was either try to talk it out or start shouting, which I did not think was a good idea. Then she got angry again, told me I was twisting her words, and things fell apart quickly. She started going on again that she knew I was cheating and that she had proof. I asked her what proof, because I would like to see it. I do not remember exactly how we got there, but she said she was going to send everything to her lawyer, and I said fine, send a copy to mine because this was going nowhere. She got really quiet after that and asked if I was serious. I said I was not going to stay in a marriage where my wife thinks I cheated on her but will not tell me why. We ended the call there and I have been at my parents' house since. For the past few weeks I had been waiting to see what proof she had, for her to talk to me more than a few memes here and there, anything. I had been living with my parents and it had been extremely stressful. I was thinking I was never going to find out what was going on until a few days ago when she showed up at my parents' house to talk. And finally she told me the proof of me cheating, which was that her coworker had told my wife she had seen me with another, much younger woman. So I asked some follow-up questions. What did she look like? Where was this? And so on. I figured out pretty quickly that she was talking about Maya. We go to the hospital to eat lunch with Grace sometimes, and her coworker must have seen us together. Simple mistake, right? Except my wife knew that her coworker was describing Maya and was more or less suggesting I was cheating on her with the child I helped raise, who calls me dad. I tried not to get angry because I know she has a lot of trauma involving older men and younger women, especially after what her parents tried to force her to do. But at the same time, I felt disgusted and betrayed that she would ever think I would do that, and the conversation devolved into another argument. During that argument she admitted that it was not just any coworker. The coworker is her first cousin Sheila. And Sheila is still in the church. It all started tumbling out that Grace had been spending time with Sheila during her breaks at work. She had been calling and talking to her father, the one that tried to marry her off to a man older than I am right now. She had been attending church meetings when I thought she was at work. And you know what? None of the church stuff would be a problem on its own. If she wants to be Christian, that is her choice. Except everything she was saying was a contradiction to everything else she was saying. She told me I was in my prime years for having children. I am 44. I am past my prime for that. Maya is 21 and I am thrilled to have her living at home, but I am also thrilled she can clean her own bathroom. She said that because my dad is secular Jewish, he is evil and that evil is passed down to me. My mom is even more evil because she was raised Christian but turned her back on the church and did not raise me Christian, which according to Grace is also evil. My mom, a woman who loves my wife probably more than she loves me, is now a sinner and deceitful. But more than all of that, the part that made me sickest and pushed me to actually call a lawyer was that she suggested our daughter, a brilliant, amazing kid who loves her mom so much, is to blame because she is young and flaunting herself. It is all jumbled up in my brain. There was so much more. She went on for what felt like hours before I asked her to leave. I was not a good provider because she had to work. I reminded her that I had been suggesting she take time off from work, but apparently, that was proof I was trying to isolate her from her family. Suggesting therapy, which I had been doing since before the pandemic, was apparently me trying to brainwash her into accepting an affair. I do not understand any of it. I do not know where to go from here. That evening, after my wife left, Maya called me crying because her mom had been saying some really awful things to her. So I told Maya to come stay with my parents and me, and that just added fuel to the fire. Now Grace thinks we are living together. My dad is on my side. My mom thinks Grace is just having a rough time and that we can talk this through. My sister is upset she got dragged into it and thinks we are both at fault. And Maya is miserable because she is being pulled between me and her mom. I feel like maybe I jumped the gun and should have stayed calmer. My morning meetings are finally over and I need to concentrate on my job, so I am going to be logging out for the day. I am going to talk to my mom to see if she will talk to Grace and suggest therapy and couples therapy. I believe those of you who suggested missing reasons are correct. Something is causing this. I just do not know if it is something I have done, stress in her life, or if it is full-on projection. I will assure Maya again that she has a place here no matter what. As far as I am concerned, she is my daughter and of course she has a place here if she needs it. However, I also will not try to pressure her considering that is her mom and I know this is pulling her in two directions. Second edit. Someone asked if I was cheating. Let me assure you no. I am not cheating. I never have. I love my wife. I never wanted to cheat. I am not a saint and I have been attracted to people before. But the thought of cheating has never crossed my mind. A lot of people think she is cheating on me. I do not think so. She is home every night at the same time. She does not hide her devices. Could there be someone at work? Yes. Do I think she is cheating? No. But as many pointed out, those are famous last words. I have PTSD and I have worked a lot in therapy over the years to process intense emotions. It is why I stay calm. Not because I am calm, but because if I do not stay calm I get overwhelmed. The comment about talking to my lawyer was one of those moments where I did not process well. I do not think it is a good idea to divorce her after over a decade together because of this past month. On the other hand, I know that because it is not a safe place for me mentally, I will stay at my parents' house until we get this resolved. Could it be hormones? Possibly. However, my wife is already taking hormones because of a medical procedure she had in her early 30s. She has to see the doctor usually every 6 months to check her levels. Her last appointment was in March. However, her mood changes started before that. I think this is stress. It is why I brought up taking time off work. I have not actually contacted a lawyer yet because I hope my marriage can be saved. I think I just wanted reassurance from a neutral third party because I am so far out of my depth here. My mom is already involved. She and Grace are incredibly close, and she has called Grace every day to check on her. Grace has no contact with her own family. So I am not really involving my mom so much as asking her to suggest marriage counseling the next time she calls. I have not been no contact with my wife since I left. She messages me sometimes with the same silly stuff we have always shared, like random memes or stories about her coworkers. And sometimes it is her begging me to just tell her the truth. I am exhausted mentally and at the end of my rope. I have suggested therapy a couple of times already, but that has gotten nowhere. Hopefully my mom bringing it up might help. Please do not disparage my wife. I am upset over this because my wife is a great woman. She is smart, she is funny, she is sweet. She has been a wonderful mother, and that is why I have been worried the past few months. Because this is so out of character. First update: no. My wife is not cheating on me. As far as I know, she is not sick, does not have a tumor, and is not showing signs of early dementia. If she were, those things would be easier to process. Maybe it is perimenopause or menopause. I do not know. I do not care. Yes, I will be seeking a divorce. I have already spoken to a lawyer. Maya is currently living with me and my parents. I will be looking for an apartment or condo to rent soon. I feel like I have overstayed my welcome. Maya is thinking of taking some time off to visit her dad. I do not blame her. I am a mess right now. I do not even know why I logged back into this account other than to say that no, my wife really was not cheating on me. I can honestly say I wish she had been. It would be so much easier than this. Thanks for the advice and the concern. Second update: I saw my wife earlier today. I wanted to sit down and start talking about what divorce was going to look like between us. We have over a decade of our finances, our home, our lives intermingled. I have been paying for Maya's school. It is her job that we get most of our insurance coverage from. I put the down payment on our house, but she has paid off just as much of it as I have. We will have lawyers handle all of this, but at the same time I just wanted to look at her and make her see what she was doing. Divorce is not just a word. It is a real, concrete thing. The lives that we have been living are over as we know them. We are not old. It is not like we cannot move on from this. But at the same time I have been her husband for so long that I do not know who I am without her. When I got home I started drinking and I have not stopped all evening. Which is stupid. Do not do what I did. I kept seeing her sitting across from me, refusing to look at me. I do not know her anymore. And I am not sure if I ever did. My therapist talks about masking because of the PTSD and ADHD. I mask a lot with coworkers or clients, but I never had to mask at home. And now I am wondering if this entire marriage she was just masking being happy with me. Was she miserable the whole time? Did she pick me because I was stable and a good father figure to Maya? Our relationship was good, but was it really? Was she just going through the motions because of everything she was taught in that church? I feel sick. I feel like I failed her because I do not know how much of it was truly her and how much was just the programming she went through in that community. And Maya, she is not great. She is trying so hard to be stoic and strong, but she is my daughter. I taught her how to fish and she is better at it than I am. She taught me how to knit when I was struggling during the pandemic lockdown. She is such an amazing kid and she is hurting, and I hate Grace for that. I hate her for hurting our daughter. But I love her. And that hurts too. I do not know what the point of this was. I came back to read over the comments. I thought what we had was fixable. I thought if I worked at it we could change things. And it is just over. It is so final. Let that be a lesson. Sometimes things just end and there is nothing any of us can do about it. Third update: I planned on updating last night before bed, but I fell asleep quite early. So here is a quick update before coffee and work. First, I have officially met with a lawyer. From what she said, it will take about 10 to 20 business days before my ex-wife will be properly served. Beyond that, it could take anywhere from a couple of months to over a year depending on how complicated untangling our finances turns out to be. I am no longer in contact with my ex-wife, and neither is Maya. She has texted me a few times, sometimes accusing me of not being man enough to be a proper husband, and sometimes sending me cute cat pictures. It is like I can see the person I married in there, but for the most part she seems to be gone. No, I am not going to have my ex-wife committed. I know the version of Christianity she has returned to is cult-like. It demands obedience in all forms and punishes anyone who steps outside of that. She certainly has religious trauma. But she is also an adult. I think that if she were to ever get proper help she might be able to move on from that trauma. But no one can force her to do that. I know because I tried for years to talk her into therapy. I am not abusing alcohol or becoming an alcoholic. I got drunk one night. I do not suggest it to anyone. I had not really done that since my early 20s, and it was an uncomfortable experience. I forgot how awful it actually is to feel so numb and yet feel everything so intensely. That experience also reminded me that I am in my 40s now and hangovers are so much worse. I cannot get custody of Maya because she is an adult. I pay for her college and I am going to continue to do so. She is my daughter, no matter how old she gets, and she will always have a home with me. Maya has officially put a pause on school this semester. She is going to stay with her father for a month, travel around Europe for a month, and then hopefully be back before Thanksgiving, no later than Christmas. I am apprehensive about her traveling through Europe by herself. I know people do it every day, but she is my daughter and I worry. I still have not found a place. I looked at some rentals, but my parents reminded me it would be better to buy if I can find something small enough. So right now I am looking at various condos in my price range. A condo feels more manageable than a house. Depending on where I am in the divorce when I finally find something, my parents will front me the costs and I can pay them back over the next year or two. The only other significant update I have is from our mutual friends. I found out that my ex-wife had been cutting them off or telling them we did not want their friendships anymore. And since my ex and I were pretty much always together, they did not think to reach out and ask me directly whether that was true. I need to take more responsibility for not noticing. I was not paying attention to anything but my ex-wife. I did not notice how stressed Maya had become. I did not notice our friends slowly disappearing. I did not notice changes in my own behavior. We were circling the drain back in January, but I was clinging to this hope that if I just got my ex some help, things would mend themselves. Now Maya is so stressed she does not want to go back to school. My work has suffered, though thankfully my boss has been understanding. My friendships need to be repaired, and I do not even know where to start. Everything feels like it is moving at a snail's pace, and I just want it all to be over with. And yet everything also feels like it is rushing by and still turning my life upside down. I know it will eventually even itself out. Things will get better, or at the very least I will no longer feel like I am stuck in a tumbledryer. Fourth update: the divorce papers have been served. This past Wednesday. Grace did not take it well. There were several angry phone calls that I ignored and one that I finally took. She accused me of turning Maya against her. As if calling her own daughter awful names was not enough on its own. We hashed out the whole cheating accusation again. She waved it off. Apparently, to her, the accusation was not that serious and I should have forgiven her for her mistake. Instead, she said, I had abandoned her. Which in some ways is true, I did leave. But I do not know what she wanted. I do not know what she thought was going to happen. I still do not understand what her endgame was. Her family's goals, sure, they wanted to split us up and they succeeded. But what did she think was going to happen? She said I was not a real man. A real man would not have let her work, apparently. Once again I pointed out that I told her multiple times she could quit her job, but that fell on deaf ears. She made it abundantly clear that she is going to fight me on every aspect of this divorce. She told me she is already looking for other men to replace me, but almost in the same breath told me that I cannot divorce her. Because of her reaction, I have put on hold any thoughts about buying a place. My parents are thinking of buying a cabin near a lake, and if they do that, then I may eventually be able to buy their current home. But until then, I will be looking for an apartment. I need the space. I cannot keep tripping over them. I love them to death, but they are hovering because they are worried. I just want some quiet and some time to myself. Maya left for her dad's. She arrived last Monday and we have FaceTimed twice already. She is enjoying the time away from her mom and away from the drama. I told her to go and enjoy herself and that things are fine here, but I think she is worried about me too, so we set up Sunday nights as our weekly call. Some of my friends have been encouraging me to go out or start a dating profile. Others have been dropping off homemade food, jams, pies, casseroles. I appreciate the food a lot. I have probably gained 5 pounds just from the jams alone. My friend Heather made me homemade apple butter and quite frankly I ate it all in 2 days. It was amazing. I am staying away from dating. I will try to stay away from the apple butter as well. Final update. My soon-to-be ex-wife posted lies on Facebook and it is impacting my job. My soon-to-be ex-wife and I are going through an acrimonious divorce. I had the divorce papers served this past week and she did not take it well. After a really angry phone call from her, I thought that was the end of it. However, I got an email from my boss that evening about some concerns he had. Quick background. I did not have Facebook, but my wife did. She was the more social of us and kept up with group chats and social media. Some of my coworkers and their spouses had become friends with her online because we would all go out to dinners and that is how we coordinated group plans. I never really thought about it until the email from my boss. Before I left my wife, she accused me of cheating, which I had not done. Then she accused me of being inappropriate with her daughter, who I raised since childhood and who is my daughter too as far as I am concerned. That was the last straw and I filed for divorce. My ex-wife then announced our divorce on Facebook, claiming that she left me because I abused her and our daughter and that Maya had left the country because she was so ashamed. From what I can gather, a co-worker's wife saw the post, told her husband, Who told my boss? Who told me? My boss, thankfully, knows me well and knows it is not true. But I have no idea how this is going to impact my job going forward, or what my coworkers and their spouses think. I made a Facebook account and reported the post, but I have no idea if that will go anywhere. I have emailed my attorney, but it is Sunday, so I will not hear back until at least tomorrow. I do not know what steps to take. But I am not done fighting for my reputation or for my daughter. Other comments from OP. I started a comment and I wrote out an entire thing angry, but I'm too tired to really do this. I can't have my ex committed. That's not how involuntary commitment works. It's not how state laws work. It's not how reality works. Stop messaging me that I'm a bad husband because I'm not calling the cops on her or getting the courts involved. If anything, I'd just be harassing her. She's lucid, she's eating, she's not on drugs, and she's not going to harm herself. She goes to work, gets coffee, pays bills out of our joint account. She's not delusional. I can tell when she talks to me that she doesn't really even believe any of this shit. She parrots back talking points her dad or her cousin or the church give her. Because sometimes being miserable with trauma is easier than the incredibly hard work it takes to confront the trauma. At some point in all of this, I can't do any more for her. Years upon years, I've suggested therapy. Not just because of her past. There were so many reasons, but biggest is because sometimes it just helps to talk to someone. Even if it's about dropping the groceries in front of the house and getting overwhelmed and having a bad fucking day. We were lucky. We had access to help. Not everyone does. We had the money. Not everyone does. We had the ability and the time, and not everyone does. And at some point, it's her responsibility to get help. If I honestly thought she was delusional, this wouldn't hurt so much. I remember what it was like to be so lost in those thoughts and a reality that never existed. But she's not. She's always chosen to not get help. Side note, I don't know why my shit is up on Facebook or TikTok or whatever. I don't really care. If there's anything that anyone can learn from any of this is, trauma doesn't go away just because you want it to. If you have access to help, get help. You can only power through so much before it catches up.